Welcome. I'm Carl Frederick, and I will be interviewing individuals for Kenosha Voices, an oral history project of the Kenosha County Historical Society in conjunction with Kenosha Community Media. I have worked in newspapers for more than 40 years as an editor and a reporter. 38 and a half of those years were at the Kenosha News. I am also a member of the Kenosha County Historical Society Board. We hope you enjoy these programs. I'm speaking with Trisha Camosy, the Business Development and Marketing Manager at Camosy Construction. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Carl. Thanks so much for having me.
So, when did Camosy Construction get its start?
So we were originally founded in 1910, a long time ago.
Okay, and who was that?
Dominic Camosy, who is my great-grandfather. He was a carpenter and surveyor and immigrated from Italy in around 1908 and then started the business shortly thereafter in 1910.
Okay, and what kind of a business did he start?
It was a residential construction company in the most traditional sense. So he was a general contractor building homes in the Kenosha and Chicago Heights area.
Okay, and at what point did he move his business address to Kenosha?
It was in the 30s, I believe.
Okay, and so for this period of time he was building homes in both places. And how long did he manage the business until he changed it over to another person?
So he managed it till about the 50s, which is when he fell ill. And then my grandfather, Ray Camosy, was attending the University of Wisconsin-Madison at the time, did not finish and came home to help run the family business, learned the ropes before my great-grandfather couldn't work any longer.
Okay. And do you know what year that might have
Yeah,
been?
it was in the early 1950s.
Early 1950s, okay. And did the business run in the same way when your grandfather took it over?
At first, there was a large shift that happened in the 50s, which is when we went from primarily a residential home builder to more of the municipal side of construction. So that is when you saw the insurgence of lots of churches being built, schools, police stations, libraries, that sort of thing. And during that shift from my great-grandfather to my grandfather is when we also made that shift to building in the municipal sector.
Do you recall the reason for the move?
I believe it was more of just getting with the times and staying with what was popular. We actually did that, I would say, a few years ago as well. They saw the insurgence of more of the municipal construction versus the home building, and so they wanted to jump on that early so they could be ahead of the curve and have the experience before the other contractors gained that experience.
Okay, and you said that in the 50s there was this number of churches and municipal buildings and things built. Can you think of some of the buildings that Camosy Construction built during that time at the switchover?
Yeah, so St. Mary's Church locally, Catholic Church, we built Holy Rosary, Mount Carmel are three really notable churches. This wasn't in the switch necessarily, but some other ones earlier on. We did the Snap-on headquarters building, lots of different schools, hospitals here locally. We did Bradford High School's original building. I'm trying to come up with another school that people would know, but a lot of the original the Italian American Club, we did as well. So there are a lot of really notable older historical sites in Kenosha that Camosy was a part of.
You built the original Italian American Society building back in 1926?
Yes, and to this day, I'm a member of the Ladies Auxiliary. I actually just recently sat on their strategic planning committee, and the new IA President Marty Pitts actually sent me a photo of the contract recently. So yeah, it's really cool when things like that come full circle.
Okay, and then how long did your grandfather manage or operate the company?
To the late 80s. And then Raymond, my uncle, he took over after that with a little bit of overlap. I would say more overlap than my grandfather and my great-grandfather had, so it made it more of a handoff versus a necessity. So it was, I think, a good transitional period that they got to work together. And then I heard stories from both of them over the years about how they would go to work together, and they would have, my grandma would make my grandpa a sandwich and she would make my uncle his lunch, and then they would eat together. Those are the stories too that I remember hearing when I was a little girl.
Okay, and then your father is also, when did he become more involved?
So my father was born significantly later on in my grandparents' life. Closest age to his siblings was 9 years. So he was definitely, it took him a little bit longer because just of his age. So he took over from my Uncle Raymond in the early 2000s. And there was, similar to my grandfather and my uncle, they had a longer transitional handoff, which again, it is good for the business and it's good for the employees because there is always a learning curve at a handover like that. I mean, definitely different managing styles, people have different expectations. So it was important that they were able to have a seamless transition.
And were there any shifts in focus as the different people took the reins of the company?
Definitely. I would say from when Raymond, my uncle, was the president to my father, John, one of the biggest changes, we did a lot of schoolwork when my uncle was the president. We still do a lot of schoolwork, there's no doubt, but primarily at this point, the biggest noticeable shift was to public safety. So we are focusing primarily right now on police stations and fire stations, and there's a lot out there for us to be going after, and it's kind of where we thrive and what we enjoy building.
Okay, and that continues today?
It does, and we, similar to when we noticed the insurgence of more of the municipal construction happening in the 50s, we were able to see the rise of police stations that were going to be going under construction. And the fact that we were able to get ahead of that curve as well lent us to be able to be a well-desired contractor to be building these public safety buildings.
So if I may ask,
Yeah.
What is special about building a police station
Sure.
or a fire station?
Yeah.
I mean, basically it's a building
It's a
with
building.
a lot of spaces and bays and offices. What's different about those?
Let's talk about fire specifically. Fire, there are a lot of things going on right now as far as the wellness of the firefighters itself. Like, how do they come in from a active fire, and where do they decompress, right? And where do they get off their gear and decontaminate? Because that's a whole process that a lot of people don't know about. So when you get in from a fire call, you need to get rid of your clothes, shower, and so how we go about structuring and laying out the building makes a really big difference when it comes to the fire stations. Also, fire stations are unique because they're not just a place of work, they're a home. So when you're building a fire station, you're building these people's homes as well. So they have kitchens, they have living spaces. It's very unique. When we're talking about police work, a little different. So when we are building a police station, we're really looking at what the community needs versus what the law enforcement staff needs. So today you see a lot of police stations putting in very large community conference rooms that people could come in and rent the space out because they're trying to bridge the gap between the law enforcement and the police and the community. They want it to be a welcoming space. but there are just things that the community doesn't need to see. And so structuring that building for when the civilians can come in and do all of their necessary things that they need at a police or a village hall, then keeping everything else separate is something that's, again, unique to the law enforcement side of buildings. Then there's also other considerations like a lot of times if you look at a police station, the color of the station itself, if you are looking at the latter half of the bottom half of the building, it's lighter in color. And that's because people tend to hide sometimes and they want to be able to see what's happening. So there are a lot of these little nuanced things that go into consideration when you're building a police station, a fire station. I mean, any building, it has its specifics, but those are unique and just fun things that our guys and I know I enjoy building. And it's not every day that you get to build something like that. So it's fun.
So when did you get started in the business?
Well, I was 15 with my work permit, and I was working as a receptionist. And then my big project at first was redoing our safety manual. So I had to go through it page by page, make sure everything was within a reasonable date. And I retyped everything and put it all together. And to this day, right now, I'm actually redoing it again. So it's kind of come full circle.
So then after you spent those summers perhaps
Yes.
working,
Yes.
You went to school.
I did.
And you graduated from Kenosha schools,
Yep, I went to Trumper High School.
Trumper High School,
Yes.
and then you went off to college.
I did.
And where did you go?
I went to Arizona State, just like my dad did, actually. And my brother Kevin also went to Arizona State. So definitely a family-oriented thing. My dad went there along with my brother because they have a very great construction management program and engineering program, which a lot of people sometimes don't know. So that's why my dad selected ASU to begin with. And I felt that if I didn't leave Kenosha, I always knew I wanted to come back, but I wanted to go out and be able to experience the world a little bit. And same thing with my brother, and we're both happy to be back in Kenosha.
Okay, now you mentioned construction management as a degree that Arizona State had. Was the company always a construction management firm, or was it a general contractor? Just what was the business?
So up until about the 80s, we were a general contractor. We were a true traditional builder. We would hard bid our jobs. We would sub out all of our other trades like flooring and roofing and electrical HVAC. Towards the 80s, we saw a shift, and it was in the approach to how you deliver a construction job, which is what you just referenced as construction management, which basically means we aren't just selected because we are the low-cost provider, but we are selected because we're qualified, and they take into consideration the price after they select their top qualified candidate. This kind of just gives us a little bit of more of an opportunity to work with the architect prior to the drawings being done. And with our information as far as what things cost, we can help the architect select the products that will reflect the budget that the owner desires, and just to help provide feedback. We feel like this is an easier way to be a team player versus kind of being separated from the architect and the owner. When we're brought on early, things just run more seamlessly. We have a better working relationship with everybody, and that's kind of what we prefer. And I would tell you that 70% of our jobs are construction management delivery method versus about 30% the general contracting, very traditional hard bid way.
Okay, so how long did you graduate from Arizona State?
I did the full 4 years. I graduated from Tremper in 2015. 2011, and then I graduated from Arizona State in 2015.
Okay. And why did you go back to work at Camosy Construction?
I never had the intention to go into the family business. My brother, from a very young age, showed very high interest. So I felt that I was off the hook in a sense, that I didn't have to. I was home for something while I was in college, and my grandfather Ray and my dad said, hey, let's go to breakfast. And that's not out of the ordinary for us. And immediately I felt kind of cornered, and they all sat down and said, we just want you to try. If you don't like the business, no harm, no foul, but it would mean a lot if you just put your best foot forward and gave it a shot. And I really had a great relationship with my grandfather. I would have never have been able to say no, especially that he just really wanted me to give it a shot. And I could feel that that's what he wanted. He never had any expectations of me to stay. He just really appreciated that I gave it a shot, because my dad and my Uncle Raymond were the only two out of his kids that ever had any interest. None of the other kids, my uncles and aunts, had an interest, nor did any of my cousins have an interest. So I felt that that's what I owed them, at least, is to give it a shot, because they've all worked really hard to get us to where we were. And 10 years later, I'm still there and enjoying every day.
Okay. What happened with the pandemic?
COVID was a very interesting time, not only for Camosy, but I just think for construction in general. Like everybody else, we really didn't know what to expect. Everybody started to panic. We went to somewhat split shifts for those first 2 weeks when we kind of shut everything down. So we would all take shifts, so we minimized the people in the building. After those first 2 weeks, though, we decided that we can't operate that way. So everybody else came back to the office. And as far as construction and the industry went, there was a lot of uncertainty. Our owners were uncertain about moving forward with projects, understandably so, because these are tax, payer-funded projects. So they didn't want to start something and the cost goes up exponentially. They can't get the products. So we were just about to go out for bid for the Gurney Fire Station number 3 project. And they were ready to put on the brakes. So we just told them, we're ready to go out for bid. Let's just bid the project. If it comes in extremely over budget, then we'll shelve it. We'll wait and see what happens. But we told the owners that people are hurting for work because they're concerned that they're not going to have any work. Our subcontractors are asking us every day what's coming down the chute. They want to know so they can plan, and they want us to help them in any sort of way that we can for them to get the job. So we said, you're in the best position possible right now to be bidding this job. Let's just bid it. So we went out to bid, and we came in about $1 million less than we originally budgeted. And it came out to be that at the end of construction. So they got a steal on their building, and it operates, looks great. It fits they got more than they could have asked for $1 million less than they were hoping. So it's weird to say that the pandemic kind of helped in that way, at least for that project specifically. But again, we experienced a lot of hardships as far as tariffs, and not tariffs, but our supply chain issues. We were ordering precast a year and a half in advance, and we were asking anybody that we could, hey, can you store some of this stuff? Because if we were able to pre-purchase some of these things that we knew we might not get in time, then we knew that we felt better, and so did our clients, because we had the information, we had all of if it's their tech gear, their IT equipment, their generators, we had it on hand, so we wouldn't be held up when it came to construction.
How is the company staff, employees broken down?
So as far as compared to other contractors, we feel like we're a little unique. So we have your general admin staff. We have multiple receptionists. We have HR. We have accounting. But then it gets into the more specific construction related employees and staff. So we are divided into what we call operations, which is our project managers running the majority of our large work, which we consider $1 million and over, which would be our major projects division. Everything that's $1 million and under, we consider special projects. And what they do specifically is they run that project from beginning to end. So special projects goes to find the project, they estimate it, they bid it, they run it, they close it out. Major projects, we have our project managers and operations, and then we have pre-construction and estimating. And that side does just estimating and just pre-construction every single day. And we believe that just because you're a great estimator doesn't make you the best project manager. So how we've decided to structure things was we're going to allow our estimators and our pre-con guys to do that because that's what they're good at and that's what they want to do. They don't want to run the project necessarily. So then we let our project managers and operations run that work. And we feel like that is something that makes us a little unique and stand out compared to some of our competition. And it works really well for us. And I think that we wouldn't be the same if we didn't operate under that sort of model.
Okay, so how many people do you have in the office, so to speak, whatever is all done in the office? And then how many people are these other people that you're talking about?
So we have about 25 people in the office, and that's from receptionist to vice presidents to estimators, me. It's a whole conglomerate of different people. Then I would say we have about 20 core true tradesmen that we employ year-round. And we have spaces for them to go when it's raining, when it's not raining, when it's snowing. And then when the summer months come around, and that's when primarily all of our work gets done, we hire between 50 to 100 seasonal, tradesmen from the union halls that will help us with our jobs.
Okay, and you mentioned the supply chain issue with COVID. What other lessons did you learn from
COVID?
the experience?
I think and I've heard this directly from my dad, is that if somebody's not feeling well, he would rather them work at home, get a little bit done that you can, versus coming into the office, getting everybody sick, and then multiple different people then are sick and out, and productivity just goes down. So that was an interesting thing that we did learn. I think prior to that, I was really the youngest hire in a while after I graduated college. So working remote, I never expected it, but nobody in my office at the time had any intention on ever being remote or allowing anybody new to be remote working. So we learned a little bit about how to navigate that. We also see that a lot now, trying to hire more people that they want flexibility as far as, can they work at home? Can they work, 4/10s versus, 5 days a week? So that was an interesting thing that we had to navigate, that we're still kind of learning to navigate. But we also learned to operate a little bit leaner, and we learned that also from the 2008 crash. We let go about 10 people in 2008, and they learned very quickly that we may have been operating with a lot more overhead than we needed. And I think it was a learning curve there that, we had to cut back and more people had a little bit more responsibility. But I think we also kind of learned that after COVID, we didn't really have to let go of anybody. But I do believe that everybody kind of got a new job role in a way. I mean, then we were taking into consideration what COVID did to people and, people had to work at home, and we're writing more policies and putting out more information about how we were handling it, not only to the public but to the owners. So everybody really kind of had to pivot a little bit, and I think we're all better for it. At least I hope that everybody in the community is better for it, but COVID was definitely lessons learned.
Okay. You mentioned bidding projects, and you have projects that are over $5 million. And how do you organize projects? I mean, do you we have one this year, so we're good? Or do you have a framework that you work with?
I wish I could say it was more systematic than what I'm going to describe, but it's really not, unfortunately. I was talking about construction management, and construction management jobs, we usually know before we go to the proposal process of being selected, we kind of know that they're coming. The architects tell us, or we hear about it from other clients, that this municipality is going to be building a fire station. So we always kind of have our ear to the ground, and we're always planning that out in advance when those jobs are coming. I would say working with our architects is a big deal. That helps us a lot in planning. And I would tell you that we prioritize the construction management projects. And since we know about those kind of in advance, we tend to use the hard bid, general contracting method to fill in the gaps. So I would tell you that we're brought on anywhere between 8 months to 2 years prior to a project starting when we're in the construction management delivery method. So knowing that we have that kind of set in stone and those are solidified, and then we have all of the potential maybes kind of plugged in, and then we start plugging in what can we hard bid to fill those gaps. But it's not a scientific method. There's no real, we should probably come up with a process, but from everybody I've talked to, that's kind of how they do it as well. But it's sometimes really hard when you get to that year and you're like, I just need $1 million. And how we get there doesn't really matter. But then it's trying to manage those pieces about, which project manager and superintendent are available? Do we have the capacity to bid it, because estimating and pre-construction might just be overworked and too busy? So figuring that out takes a lot of time, and we always have a lot of miscellaneous balls just hanging up in the air, waiting for them to fall, and if a project's gonna land in our lap or not. We sometimes just don't know. So that's probably one of the more harder parts of our jobs.
So how many projects do you try to juggle during a year?
I would tell you special projects does, and that can be a new door. I mean, some of these projects that we're doing in special projects are very minimal, and we do those for, I would call them, clients like AbbVie, Abbott, Baxter, Niagara Bottling, Nestle Chocolate. So anywhere between, I would say, 200 to 350 small special project jobs. And as far as major project jobs, depending on when they start and end, I would say we finish about 4 a year. And again, they never start at the same time, and they're all different durations. So it's kind of hard to measure it, but I would tell you about 5 a year we finish.
Okay. And what is your biggest project?
Last year, was it last year? Yeah, so last year we went through the construction management process. So we were selected from the village of Schaumburg in Illinois to be the construction manager for their new police station and village hall. It's totaling about $160 million worth of work, and that is our biggest project in the history of the company. So it was a pretty cool thing to land.
And how does this project work out doing 2 buildings at once, or is it not at once?
So we didn't know at first. When we submitted this proposal, we gave them a plan if they would go at the same time, or if the village hall would go first, or if the police station would go first, or if they would be in the same building. So we gave 4 separate scenarios and what that would look like because they weren't sure yet on how it was all going to shake out. Needless to say, they ended up choosing to do the Village Hall first and separating the 2 projects into 2 separate buildings. They purchased a old, I would call it like an industrial office sort of building. We made that into their temporary Village Hall. So we moved their Village Hall staff and everything that they needed into this building. We are demoing their existing Village Hall and building brand new ground up. And then we will move them back into the Village Hall. We will then tear down that building and build their new police station on that property.
Okay. Have there been any national events, economic considerations that have affected your business?
I would say the 2008 crash probably was the biggest one that I can remember hearing about. COVID obviously was something that was unprecedented and definitely did affect the business, along with just our industry in general. And I would say that the tariffs that are coming down, potentially coming down, is something that we are watching very closely, that we know will affect us in some fashion. We don't know how much it's going to affect us. We don't know when, but we know it's coming. And we're very lucky that the guys that are in our estimating and pre-con department do it every day, so they get to see it and they kind of see the paths and the trends. So we hope we can get ahead of it and predict what may be long lead type items, but you never know.
How do you protect yourself?
We are more strategic nowadays than I would say maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago about the buildings that we're building and the clients that we're working for. And I'm not saying that being a home builder is any riskier than what we do, but we've learned that being in the municipal sector, there's more of a guarantee that as far as being paid and things kind of moving forward, there's more of a guarantee there than in the residential private side of things. So we protect ourselves that way by what I would call staying in our lane. We know what we're good at, and we don't go after everything anymore because we just don't have the capacity, which is a good and bad thing. But by being a little bit more selective on the projects that we go after, maybe the architects that we're working with, because we work with a whole bunch of them that we know really well and we know how they operate, and it gives us time to get to know their process, so we're not worried that they're going to blindside us with something that we're not prepared for.
In terms of tariffs, I mean, how do you protect yourself against the uncertainty of tariffs and the fact that you have a job built, ready to go? How do you deal with that?
The ordering in advance has been a lifeline for us. We actually have a pretty decent size pole barn and yard with plenty of storage. So when we learned during COVID that we could pre-purchase some of this stuff and it makes us feel a little bit more secure along with our owners, that's something that we've brought forward, especially now with the possibility of tariffs coming down. So if we can pre-order, we did a splash pad. We pre-ordered all of the fun equipment that would go with that, knowing that it was out of country, knowing that it could easily get held up. I mean, it could have been held up on a cargo ship. I mean, so we've just taken that through COVID and brought that into our daily life in construction, and it's going to be really important with the tariffs coming. We also do something called value engineering. We call it value enhancement because we don't consider it what a lot of people see it as. So value engineering is basically giving options to cut cost. So let's say you have a bathroom and you wanted ground up tile on the walls because it makes it easier to clean. Well, instead of going all the way up to the ceiling, we could go up halfway or 3/4 and just shave off a little bit of extra cash. That's not compromising much of the building itself. So we call it enhancement because we want to help you enhance your building, whether you're spending more money to get something you really want or less money to just make sure that your budget stays where it needs to be. And so I think doing that method of being able to provide alternatives to our owners to make selections is a way that we can also kind of combat that. And so we could give them, well, I know you wanted this brick in this color from Italy. Well, there's this brick in almost the identical color, a little bit different, that's cheaper and it's made in the US, so we're not worrying about how it's going to get here. So by providing that information to our owners and our architects, that also kind of helps us pre-plan and maybe just be a little more certain of the things that we're ordering, the things we're putting in these buildings, that they're going to be here and that the cost isn't going to be exponentially different. So that's probably a really good tool, but again, something that we do every day.
Okay. How about technology? How has that affected your business?
Well, I think at least in construction nowadays, there is a application, a software for everything. The biggest thing that is noticeable is when I was growing up, we had what we called the plan room. And that's where we had all of the plans of our projects and all of our subcontractors would come in and they would be able to look at them. They would do all of their estimates and take off sometimes there. Well, with the advancement of computers, people don't come into our office to look at the plans anymore. So that was a big noticeable change a while ago, but still very, very profound for us. And for us, that's also how we built relationships with our subcontractors, by them coming into our office and seeing us every, on a daily basis or a weekly basis. But I would tell you one of the biggest tools that's changed is they have project management softwares. So it runs everything for the project. So we are using what's called Procore. And when I say everything runs through Procore, everything runs through Procore. Time cards, our safety reports, all of the drawings and our pay applications and our addendums, they all live in the software and the team has access to it. So our owners have access to it, our architects have access to it, our subcontractors have access to it, and that's how they can ask questions. Our subcontractors can ask us questions through there. And it's nice because we can track when things are getting done in a timely manner as well. But it is the way we communicate effectively with everybody on our team, and it's a way we store all of the information for the project. And it's a powerful, very powerful tool. And I would say Procore is the leader in that market. If not, I bet you in 5 to 10 years, they purchase everybody that's a potential player, and they will definitely have a monopoly on the game.
And how has Procore affected your job specifically?
Well, actually, it's been a big benefit for me. One of the things I need to do for my job is I need information about the project when it's when it's in process of being constructed, before it's in construction, and then after it's in construction, when I respond to these proposals for construction management jobs. So they always want, your project experience, because they don't want you building a police station typically if you've never built one before. So that's a big way that we are selected. So I need to find what was the square foot of Bensenville Police Station, and I need to put that on like a little resume for the project itself. So each RFP for each owner, they ask a little bit of different information. So the fact that I can go onto Procore and get all of the information I need is valuable in the sense that I'm not wasting my time trying to find it. I'm not wasting my other employees' times asking them to provide it for me. So the fact I can just log in, look up the information I need, and it's been a lifesaver, because for me, a lot of my job is going to find this information. So if I can save time in that department, it makes a big difference for me.
You mentioned several Illinois projects. How much of your work is in Illinois versus how much of your work is in Wisconsin?
So as of right now, I would tell you about 65% is in Illinois, 35% Wisconsin. It's changed over the years. I would tell you between like the 2008 crash till about 2017, it was more like 80-20 in Illinois. And I contribute that really to more of the idea that the municipalities in Illinois are wanting to make sure if they have the funds for those projects that they get used. But Wisconsin has, over the years, started to come back significantly. And I would tell you that we're going to start to see the police and the fire significantly slow down in Illinois, but it's starting to pick up in the state of Wisconsin.
Okay. And how about the biggest hurdle that you face in the business right now?
Staffing, employees, aging workforce, and it's not just Camosy, it's the whole industry wide, and not even just contractors, but it's our subcontractors and our architects as well. We had, I'm trying to count, 3 big retirements in our operational staff. I would tell you that 2 of them, well actually all 3 of them, were not quite ready to fully retire, so they're all working part-time right now, kind of getting their feet wet into what retirement's really gonna be like. But we've also had 3 big retirements in our field. We have 3 superintendents retiring in the next year, and that's a big hit for us as well. And just trying to replace them, and the knowledge is hard. It's a lot harder. We knew it was going to be difficult, but we didn't really know how difficult. And kind of like I mentioned, with learning from COVID, is that, we go to career fairs and we talk to the kids in college or even in high school, and they're all talking about remote work. So when we're interviewing these people and trying to bring them on full time, we're really trying to sway them into just trying this out versus, no, we want partially work from home or we want to be fully remote. Just the construction industry is not there, and I'm not sure if it's ever really going to be there, but the staffing is the biggest hurdle, and what people want nowadays is different than what they wanted 15, 20 years ago. So navigating that's been definitely our biggest hurdle, and I'm sure it's going to continue to be one of our biggest hurdles, if not our biggest issue.
How long have you had a longevity of employees? Do you have people who have stayed there a long time, some are not that long? How is your workforce good?
One of the things that I do for my job is I get our guys ready to go to interviews for these construction management jobs. And we just had one last week. And that's one of the things that we always cover because we think it's something important and unique to us. But our office staff, on average, has been with us for 15 years. And our field supervisory staff, so that's our superintendents, our foremans, their average is 28 years. We also have had multiple people leave Camosy on very good terms to go try something different. We have 3 people currently that have gone on to something new and have returned to us. So I think that says a lot about just Camosy in general and our culture, that, they got to go and experience something slightly different, but they appreciated what we were able to provide them, and they enjoyed it and they came back.
And what is it that you provide that would make someone want to come back?
Well, one of the things that I always like to talk about is in 2015, so it was right as I was graduating college. I was not here for it. We won the best place to work in Kenosha County through the Kenosha Area Chamber of Commerce. And if you don't know, that is when your employees nominate the business to win the award. And so our employees had to nominate us. And the one thing that we received in feedback was our insurance. We cover everything. And you have, I think for a family, the deductible is extremely low and nobody pays anything out of pocket. And it's just something that you don't see all the time. My dad negotiated a really, really great deal with the insurance company years and years and years ago. And it's just something that we always try to put in perspective for people that we're trying to hire, what a benefit this package really is. I mean, it's health, it's dental, it's vision, chiropractic's covered, acupuncture's covered. I mean, it's very extensive. And so we try to explain really what that's worth to the new people we're trying to hire, and that they should really kind of be considering that as part of the salary, just because of how you just don't see it. My husband works in healthcare, and he's on my insurance for a reason, because their healthcare is abysmal, and he works in healthcare. Besides health and like just insurance in general, we do a 401k match. Certain people get company vehicles, gas mileage. We do lots of what we would call team building activities. We have a team building room in our office that we encourage people on Friday afternoons to not cut out work early, but before you go home, maybe leave your desk like 30-40 minutes early, go downstairs, see who's down there, and just talk. Because we've realized that the more people are talking, because people are busy. I mean, we're not all just sitting in the office, around the water cooler. So if you're having a problem, I mean, mostly professionally, but even personally, if you're talking to people, then they might have an idea of how to fix it, or they might have come across that at one point. So we find it really valuable that we have that space and we encourage that open collaboration, even if it's not scheduled, but it's just kind of a standing protocol. I mean, even our owners know about it, and our owners will show up on Fridays just to, see what's happening, to see who's in the office. Because for me, personally, when I'm going after a project, if we can't use that client or owner as a reference, or we can't go to dinner after the project's all said and done, that's not a successful project then. We want the relationship to last, even if they never build a building again. So for me, it says a lot that, our staff enjoys that, our clients and our owners see it too, and that they even want to take part in it. We do plenty of we have Christmas parties, and we have a white elephant party, and we do a food truck evening for our whole company, usually in the summer, with Captain Mike's food truck, and all of our field staff's invited, all of our office staff's invited. It's also our 115th year in business this year, so we're going to be having a big party at the end of the year for our clients and architects, subcontractors, and some other community partners. So that'll be happening. But yeah, I think it's the culture. It's very family oriented. We have multiple generations, not only on the Camosy side of things, but other families that have worked for Camosy, and we just find that really cool.
What's the best part of your job?
It's not the same every day. And I know people don't understand. I think people take it for granted almost. I want my day to be somewhat predictable, but I don't want to be doing the same thing every day. And the nice thing about municipal projects a lot of the time is, yeah, you build a police station, but the police station is definitely not the same as the one we built a year ago. I mean, trends change, things change. I mean, people want open concepts, and then some people don't want that. So I enjoy being able to watch buildings go up, multiple police stations, multiple fire stations, multiple schools, and there's always something unique and different about them. And it just kind of reminds me of people in general. Like, we're not all the same, and buildings aren't all the same, and projects all aren't the same. So I really like that my day can be predictable enough, but it's not the same. And I enjoy it. And I enjoy going out and seeing the buildings being built in the field. I enjoy going to interviews. I enjoy being a part of different community organizations. And I would much rather be out in the community doing things than sitting behind a screen if I don't need to be. So the fact that my job lends me that, I'm very appreciative of it.
So what's the future of Camosy Construction and for you?
Well, I've said this to my dad multiple times, and I'll say it here so he can see it again. I just hope he doesn't get to retire anytime soon. But we're very lucky that we have a lot of really great support systems and people that have been in this business for quite a long time. But the hope, I believe, is that my brother and I, who are working side by side currently, not doing the same thing, can kind of be the eyes and ears of the business when my dad is ready to retire. I'm a non-technical female in a very technical male-dominated industry, so the fact that I have my brother there that does the technical side of things, I feel like we would be a really great team to be able to do it together. And then hopefully someday have another Camosy that will come up and be able to take it from us as well.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Carl. I really appreciate it.